Welcome back, guys. It was a pretty straightforward game if you ignore the Teemo in the bottom lane, as Griffin did take out JAG in just about 40 minutes. Made it look easy too. Tarzan coming mid, wins the mid lane, goes top, wins the top lane, and then starts all the fights for the rest of the game.
Scary part about what you say, Valdez, is I think we have to start just ignoring Teemo. It's becoming a normal thing for Griffin. Griffin winning is becoming a very normal thing in general. I think Tarzan was a monster this game. My personal favorite was Lahan's, really getting the most out of the Soraka versus Tahm Kench matchup and of the silence, and then eventually you knew a Baron was coming for Griffin. This game had to have a Baron for Griffin in it at some point. You're never worried about a smite steal when you have so much map control like Griffin's draft with 4 Scorch, 4 Airy provided them, and eventually they won. It took a while, but Griffin always in control.
Yeah, it's kind of what we expected from first place versus 9th place. Griffin coming up from Challenger, innovating the LCK, and winning as they go. Let's take a look at some game facts. Actually, the Ezreal did the most damage. Definitely a lot of poke from the Ezreal, but no kills, as they were 0, 8, and 0 as a team.
Feel like Ezreal Tahm Kench is where Griffin really prefer to run this Teemo, and the Soraka really put it over the edge. Otherwise, felt like Jin were a little bit short on ideas. Cacao and Justice come in, and I'm never a huge fan of duos coming in because it kind of muddies the scientific analysis of did it make things better or worse. Kind of made things the same, to be honest, maybe slightly worse around the mid lane, where if you pick the Karma into the Orianna, you expect a better result than negative 50 CS. Tarzan will be the MVP. Couple of people here could have been considered, Rather and Lahan's having big games as well. But Tarzan is the growing superstar of the jungle here in Korea. He's right up there with the best. I put him next to Score and Peanut very favorably.
Yeah.
He is going to be a monster jungler that people will remember for a long time, so another MVP for him.
Yeah, talks about Tarzan's early ganks, made that Sejuani look OP in the face of the quote-unquote counter in the Kindred, which really did absolutely nothing in game number 1. Would not be surprised if we saw a couple of subs from the side of Jin given how game 1 went.
Have to agree with you. We know So1's playing, but very artfully we have not seen who else is in this roster. They had a voice in our ears as well. So, spoilers, there's going to be a player change. Let's tell you all about it.
She's from Daegu. It's supposed to be really hot there, even hotter than Seoul, and, well, that's Soraka in the back. We've seen crazy drawings and paintings for Griffin so far. Let's wait and see who they're going to sub out. Will it be the 2 members or just 1?
Oh, 2 blue bars.
Well, there you go. It's going to be Grace hopping back into the mid lane and Umchi back into the jungle. I understand swapping them out for game 1, but after the way that one went, you got to change something up.
See, if Umchi can have a big performance, he's also got his jersey open because it's hot, hot, hot here in Korea. Grace has been very good with counterpick, but has struggled to make things work if he's blind picking his mid laner. Umchi's been on the down recently, had some good moments this season, but definitely not the best last couple of series. That's what Cal was preferred for game number 1, but such big off-season news that Cal was coming back to the LCK, a true legend of LCK history. 4 game losses so far, no victories, and he might go the entire season with no victories, Valdez.
Definitely feels that way, but never want to call it before the end of the season at least. But guys, Pick and Ban is ready to go for game 2. Let's hop into that now.
When did the Teemo ban start is what Griffin are wondering. You would feel so resigned, so angry if you had to ban Teemo. I don't think it's there. I actually think the Teemo is overshadowed by multiple champions in both the series we've seen it from, but it's also something that's really damn annoying. So we'll see where the Teemo priority is. We're on patch 8.14, guys, game number 2, and we're banning supports on the blue side. I imagine a first pick support is coming in.
Feels that way. They could try to, leave a couple of them open and then first pick Sejuani. You consider the way that the pick ban went for game number 1. The first pick, Tahm Kench, did not work for Jin because it got totally countered. They also gave Orianna and Sejuani for first and second pick. to Griffin the first time.
And imagine if you give up Talia or the Trundle to Tarzan, then you're going to be very, very upset about that as well. So it does feel like either a first pick support or the jungler of choice is what we have loading in to this blue side first pick. What will the final ban be from Griffin? Just banning away some of the picks Nova's been defaulting to. Bans away the Alistair as well. So now Jin say maybe we can keep Lehens away from a priority pick. Gonna be very difficult to keep Tarzan away from Trundle or Sejuani.
Yeah, could wait and see what Jinner want to pick first in the jungle and then just go ahead and first pick Shen, especially with all of those support bans, kind of what you were talking about. Also, the top supports for Nova are Rakan, Morgana, Tahm Kench, and Shen. So, kind of the focus on the Shen. They are going to ban that one away. They don't want to see Lehens on that one, even on the blue side. So let's see what Griffin decide to first pick.
A lot of stuff open right now. The Trundle and the Sejuani both open. Trundle first pick priority's gone down a little bit recently, but because Tarzan is so good at pathing ahead of the enemy jungler, it seemed perfect. Instead, they're going to take the Orianna first pick, probably for Rather again. Not sure what this says about their strategy or what it says about Rather's champion pool at this present point, but the Orianna priority been very high in Korea recently. I wonder if Grace will consider an Azir game and whether that might lead to the flex to bot lane on this Orianna.
You were talking about priority on the Trundle. It looks like Jinner is going to highly prioritize that pick here. First on the red side. What are they going to go alongside it? They were hovering the Jace. Could have been just some mind games, and they're not thinking about it just yet.
Will be banned in the second round by Griffin, most likely, if no one picks it up. So probably has to be a first-round champion. Speaking of first-round champions, return to the Ezreal for Teddy. Lost on that in game number 1. Has been not really on the Ezreal hype train. It's 1-1 now on the entire season as we see the Tarzan Teemo hover. He's already seen Ezreal, and he clearly likes the matchup for the Teemo.
Yeah. Another thing that would be fun is the Elise.
It would be so cool. I've been hoping for Songwon to jump back onto it. This would be something that could trade. Here we go. It's a pathing jungler on the Elise. Kakao no longer in the game, one of the legendary Elise players. We're going to get to see Tarzan's Elise as the hovers continue on the Teemo.
A hover, it's not a troll anymore.
It's Jace
and
time.
he is going to change it to the Jace.
So here's the theory. If we see Jinner try to blind pick their entire bot lane, if they take a support at Teddy's pick, I think it will be returned to the Teemo and a lane counter. It seems to be what they're threatening here. Someone had a wonderful game on the Malphite into the Jace matchup before, so I love the return of this. He went the Sunfire Trinity Force build and was solo killing Jaces, so we'll see if Griffin can find a way to deal with that matchup. You might consider banning away the Teemo here if you're Jinner. I know it sounds insane, but I think Griffin really would like to return to it. They have Jace, they have Orianna, they have a aggressive early game jungler in Elise. You add shrooms to the equation, you're adding a lot of headaches, Valdez.
Well, they will ban one of the higher tier 80 carries. I don't include Teemo in the highest tier just yet.
He's an awesome dude. He is not, in fact, an 80 carry.
Yeah, well, you know, he auto attacks, so you got that going on. Not necessarily doing too much physical damage there. But Varus Kaisa also in that role. You were talking about a Azir, the Malphite, good into the lane of Jace, but also good for dealing with all of that poke on the side of Griffin.
I wonder if Grace would consider the Corki in this game. If we see double ban towards other comfort matchup into Orianna. Corki buffed on this patch, 814, extra 40 damage at level 1 on his E. Makes his level 1 trades if you face check him the most obnoxious ever. Let's see the Morgana ban here. If they take support, I think it might be Teemo time again for Griffin. They're definitely looking to take support. They want to flex, but getting that counter matchup for Grace is going to come at a cost, I think, from Griffin.
So, what's it going to be? Griffin, what do you have here for us tonight? Perhaps something new. That would be fun. Teemo's not new anymore. That's boring. Boring old Teemo.
The only reason not to go Teemo is being afraid of group team fights, but I don't think you should be picking for that. As we see the flex pick here locked in actually. Viper is a believer in the marksman pike, so who knows what's happening there, but gonna hover the pike anyway. We'll We'll see if it's going to be Lahen's pick or Viper's. It's so weird we have to talk about these edge things, but Griffin are a team that's a little bit mad. What are they going to finally pick here? Will it be normal or will it be insane? You never know with Griffin.
Well, they already have a nice 1-2 punch with Pyke, Elise adding to their poke, and, well...
Orianna bot.
Okay, there you go. Mundo top, throw Jace into the mid lane. Everything begins to come together, and that's what you can do when you have so many weird picks that the enemy team has to respect.
So Jace mid lane was a rather champion in Challenger Series, but we saw first Jace mid lane of the season, I believe. They can pick their matchup into it. Jace can do very well in a lot of matchups, can build Hex Drinker into a LeBlanc matchup, but LeBlanc will have kill pressure for certain. Not a tanky champion is the Jace. A lot of flexes happen here. They get a very safe lane for the Mundo, and for the first time in forever, Mundo doesn't have to worry about bad matchups. Yes, we should talk about the fact that it could also be the Jace bot lane death style. We'll wait and see what the decision is at 20 seconds for Griffin.
The Jace got swapped to Viper first, so it definitely feels like they're trying to give off that image. They might, again, swap right at the end. Jin-Air, it seems like a lot of discussion in the booth right now, right before we hit 20 seconds, which will be the lock-in time. But there you have it, Jace into the bot lane with Pyke.
I think that really helps the laning phase. Orianna Pyke sounds good, but it's very risky, and Jace has much more lane presence than the Orianna. Ends up with Orianna versus LeBlanc, though, so maybe Grace can pull off some powerful moves. He has played the LeBlanc before to success, so the counter pick does come through. Orianna can win this matchup. It's not a one-sided matchup, it's a skill matchup in the mid lane. Griffin mess around with many different ideas, but I'm most excited about the jungle, Valdez. We're going to see Tarzan jump on the Elise, a champion that can actually trade next to the Trundle. Burst damage is there, and if Tarzan has first rotation around the lanes, it could be a big lead for Griffin to turn on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see Tarzan get his gank on, this time with a little bit more aggressive of a pick in the Elise. We'll see if he decides to go also Moby boots first, maybe try to affect a lot of these lanes. Not the easiest gank in the mid lane, but you could certainly look towards the Braum in the bottom side, the Malphite in the top, with all the slows. But looks like the game is ready, guys. Enough talking about it. We can actually get into it and watch the way it's going to happen. Viper on his 13th unique pick as well on the Jace in the bottom lane. Let's see how it's going to happen. I said 13th, but it was actually his 15th. A little bit more impressive. You don't want to cut anything away from Viper, and what a season he's had already.
Already more than doubling his support, who is still at 7 for Lahen's. Jumping on the Pyke this time. So, the top lane matchup of Jace versus Malphite is avoided. That's what So1 won on earlier this season. Now Jin-Air coming for this pretty early invade. This actually is a 4-man invade on the bottom side. They've already warded their own red buff, and now they're trying to take over vision of the enemy red buff, trying to get Umti a nice start here. Answering ward comes down from the Elise. Little spot there. They know Umti is bot side. They know the red side start is happening. They now have their own vision. It might just be a trade of red buffs here. Vertical jungling be very helpful for the Jin-Air duo, as you would have to respect the fact that the enemy jungle is bot side. This also does shield away Umti a little bit from just dying at level 2 or 3, because the pathing of Tarzan should be on the other side of the map.
Interesting way to deal with it. You can tell that Jin-Air at least are not giving up. They're bringing in their own cool ideas into this game.
Speaking of cool ideas, Tarzan, because of this change, he actually has gone for the Ghost Borrow and gets to put it in the enemy jungle. So that's a lot of ability power at level 1. That means the Elite's going to actually clear camps and gank stronger. So going for a lane swap with this new meta, where you do see the Ghost Borrow, can potentially have a cost, which for now, going to be some nice, fun jungle times for Tarzan.
Tarzan already coming up into the top lane. We'll see if he actually ganks or just takes the Krugs away. You can see he's really trying to tax that top side of the jungle away from Umti. And Umti doing the same, just trading as much of that as possible. Just only the one Raptor there.
Again, let's explain how Ghost Poro works. Not the same as it was before. Zombie wards have been nerfed and now don't spawn off friendly wards. Ghost Poro is you walk in, you can choose to place a Poro on any brush, but if it's on the enemy brush, you get ability power or AD adaptively. And you can move it as you move through the jungle, as here comes Tarzan, top lane.
We'll see if he actually commits to it, gets the flash away, and of course it is Elise who can just repel. That's part of the reason why she's so good at diving turrets, but already the flash away from Sohwan in the top lane.
Sword is the big winner in the job because he gets a free Mundo lane. And speaking of free,
we've seen this before. If you're playing Trundle and you're trying to channel your inner ambition, just visit all the lanes and put pillars behind people and do nothing else. You're going to get a bunch of flashes.
Especially when you have a laner like LeBlanc with range catch. Speaking of range catch, a bone skewer is going to bring Nova a bit closer. See how the bot lane goes with the Jace. Very different proposition in the duo lane. Still going to be generally strong and very versatile with all his skills, but Jace scales with levels so well. He needs to get to level 6 in his Q to really get the full damage there on both the To The Skies and also the Q poke in the ranged form. So having those levels a bit slower, a bit of a trade-off for the Jace.
Yeah. We did see a bit of Jace, especially when the awesome dudes came into the meta. Saw it a bunch in solo queue to, pretty mediocre success. It wasn't one of the ones that stuck, right? Like the Swain, like the Vlad, like all those other picks. But here we have it in competitive, so this is the real test.
For me, the biggest hype is, what's the first item purchase? Because, of course, after the mana costs were decreased a little bit, not everyone goes mana immune, especially in a duo lane. Could be lethality, could be other things. As Tarzan's back top.
Yeah. You can see the timing right here is right as Sohwan is pushing in. Winning the mid lane trade, by the way, is Rather once again. So first picking the Orianna, working out for Griffin.
Big minion wave, but not going to be a gank path here for Tarzan, who has been able to make that work, as Ghost Poro is still live on the enemy side, so he still has that extra AP.
Yeah, the one thing to take away from that is the timing of the gank, right? If there wasn't a giant minion wave, maybe they could have made something happen because he knew the exact timing of when that push was going to come in, and that's why he was there right then.
Oh!
Look at that pillar,
it's
though!
Perfect.
It's perfect! Rather is so dead. First blood going to go over to Umti. Very well accepted.
5-second stun, baby. Enjoy this pillar. Enjoy your death. Beautifully done by Umti. Already more than we saw from Cow in game number 1.
I know, I mean, well, sorry Cacao, but Umti's back to play after a series like he had the last time around out against SKT. Wasn't the best one, and then they sub him out. Umti is angry now.
Man, we saw Rather doing well in trades, but the pillar comes behind you. Grace is Ignite LeBlanc. You are dead. I think in standing trades, you can go Merc trades and do just fine into the LeBlanc, but it's a swingy matchup. That's why we call it a snowball matchup one way or the other. It's not a counter pick unless the jungle's there, and, well, to Umti's credit, he's been there. So Rather's like, I'm fine, I'm on the top side, I'm as far away from the Trundle as possible. The moment this pillar comes down, could it have been any more beautiful? Tries to heal for movement speed, and face plants even harder into the pillar.
I think even the second he saw Grace charging at him from that angle, out of vision, he's like, oh crap, they're coming for me. But the heal was not enough.
I just love how the heal got him into face planting more. Like, oh no! He fully understood what had been done to him.
I mean, if he was 612 IQ, he could have just healed and then ran to the right instead and not gotten blocked.
You know that 200 IQ is a lot, right?
Well, 612 is better.
Isn't Blank the only person who can reach that IQ?
Yeah, exactly. So whenever he makes a good play, now it's 612 IQ.
Oh.
He's flipping his meme around as we speak.
Turn that frown upside down.
Exactly.
We're always glass full in the LCK. When we say that out loud, we usually aren't glass half full at all. But we try. We have our moments.
Yeah. Good to see Blank performing. Not going to see him today. If you guys were looking to watch some SKT. Gonna have to wait until another day to watch them.
There's so many hype SKT matchups coming up with their must-win schedule. The Griffin one's gonna be fun as Lehens optimistically trying to find something in mid.
I mean, it's LeBlanc. you're not really going to find much. But at the time, down on the bottom side, the Braum was also backing. So Lahen's trying to get there first with this Moby Boots and make something happen.
Nova just tete-a-tete with Lahen's, head-to-head with him, not much happening there. So1 is going to give Mundo a free lane. So it does feel like this is going to be the free-farmed Mundo. We've been denied for quite a few weeks in the LCK with Nard, Darius, and everyone else running around with kill pressure on a Mundo. So if that's going to be enough, LeBlanc and Ezreal can both try to duck in front of him and duck away from him, but still should be a very powerful Mundo. Meanwhile, a lot of burst going to come through from the Malphite ultimates, but no one really to follow up. Maybe a pillar behind the Malphite ult, but not huge dive coming through from Jin. So late game here, you do expect Elise and Jace to fall away a little bit. Maybe that's more than you can say about Jin's side. I'm most interested to see what can we do with Elise, Jace mid-game. Two of them oppressive champions in the mid-game. And the previous series, when we saw the Teemo come out, was about how much of a vision lead Griffin could get around the 15 to 25 minute mark.
Well, currently the Trundle has been a little bit more effective in terms of getting the gank in the mid lane. The flash was taken away from So1, which makes the lane a little bit harder, but he has survived to get it back now. Could have a bit of a fight here over the blue buff. A 3-on-3. We're going to get the smite down here, but actually Umti will get it. Nice tether there by Grace onto Rather. Is going to win the trade there as well. But with the first roam coming in from Lahen's, Jinner not interested in taking a further trade.
Not often we see Tarzan against first roams from the enemy, but Jinner have been playing around pressure really well. Credit to them. It is Grace and Umti coming in. Sub for game number 2, so a little bit less time to get the comms in the right order. Trying to just go back to some old scrims, and so far so good. I like them after getting the first kill, capitalizing, stealing away the blue. They knew that if anyone's going to get it, it was going to be a jungler. It wasn't going to be Rather. But Rather now has to lane against LeBlanc. He's gone Merc Treads first. He doesn't have Lost Chapter. Definitely not going to be a lot of lane priority for the Orianna.
She is definitely struggling right now, but she is going to have her heal and her flash, and she's doing well on the CS at least. So staying alive is the name of the game for her. You don't want to feed that LeBlanc and get her ahead in the mid-game.
Speaking of staying alive, we were rocking out some Craig David in the rehearsal today.
Yeah.
I just said, what was that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday song? It turned out it was 7 Days by Craig David. You remembered that. That was actually, that was nicely done.
You know, I didn't even hear the song really when I was younger, because I guess it was like an English hit. But I had heard it later on, just on YouTube, you know, just got recommended. Definitely a pretty good song. Check it out, guys. A bit of an older one. Maybe it was made around the time you guys were born. There was something, seeing as all of you are 12.
There was something great about it being 2018, and we were watching the Invan and other reporters taking photos of pro gamers, and we're here writing our notes, rocking out to Craig David in 2018 in Korea.
We definitely got a couple of questioning looks from some of the floor directors here. Like, this is the first time you guys are playing music.
We were just feeling it, you know? Sometimes you need your rallying call. For some people, it's the really hype music. You'll see the Swift Rages come out during some of the songs, but we just needed some Craig David in our life, you know?
It's the Papa Smithy song now, too, because he has a schedule Monday through Sunday.
Yep.
He's working every day, you know, trying to, I guess the story in that one is to impress the girl.
How about a story right here? We got Oblivion Orb on Malphite. Ability power.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Healing reduction. Think about it. Yeah.
You know, there was that patch that we saw where he got a lot of cooldown reduction on his ultimate. You can do a lot of burst damage with that if you do go AP.
Unfortunately, Spirit Visage does a big number on AP Malphite.
Yeah. But then again, you could look for the Elise. If you hit her with your ultimate and you go AP, she's dead.
Yeah.
You're right. If you hit her, she's dead.
You're right.
There's no like further thinking. You know, there's no Tom Kent's or anything like that. Even Tom Kent's would probably be slow against that kind of damage.
Well, Teemo into AP Malphite. This may in fact be the weird and wonderful world we live in. Speaking of weird and wonderful worlds, Jinner once again first rotating on this Elise. How many buffs is Tarzan going to be denied?
Why are they being so aggressive in the early game? It's making me uncomfortable. Makes me feel like we're watching KT here, not Jinner. Grace, speaking of which, looking to get aggressive onto Rather. getting a nice little chunk of damage there, and now he is getting ahead in the CS number.
CS numbers, Grace up 16. Mundo up 20, and that's my worry, is that Mundo got the freest lane ever against a Malphite who was picked into the Jace. Matchup that So1 has already excelled on. He also played the Sunfire Cape Trinity Force Malphite Max Q and slammed a Jace, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt on the AP Malphite until it doesn't work. Jin Air, with all their presence, they've stolen the blue, they've stolen a red. How about a Cloud Drake as well? Really good early game so far by Jin Air GreenWings.
The early game has been theirs. They're electrocuted onto Rather as Grace is very handedly winning this mid lane now. It's not really a contest, as Rather without the blue, just sitting here trying to survive. Grace still being a meanie there. The Elise, you know, it got the flash up on the top side. We haven't seen it in a while. There are many reasons why, but especially if you can't get something done early on, you're going to be struggling a little bit.
The jungle pathing from Tarzan here. They know there's a real chance that with this grouped up minion wave, a turret dive with the Trundle is happening. So he cleared the camp closest to sticking around. Wasn't looking to go aggressive. A lot of respect being shown by Griffin. In the end, if you think about what's happened, because LeBlanc has won, Griffin are now really on the back foot, thinking scaling with Mundo. The Jace doesn't really jive with that. The Jace really can be held against. I think Griffin are really being hopeful on the amount of pick damage they can have. Think of Elise and also the Pike when it comes to current health damage, missing health damage, and also the true damage on that Pike ultimate. There is a potential there to take over, but the cost is basically every neutral objective on the map in the early game.
It's the neutrals, it's the CS lead in the mid lane, and you also saw after the invade that was happening there and Tarzan, or rather Umti being spotted, that Sword ulted and ran away from his top turret because he was worried. You know, the Morellonomicon Malphite now is going to dive him with the help of Umti and Grace, and he can't survive against a 1v3 dive, so he had to back off and give away a bunch of CS.
Of course, we saw the enemy team knew about coverage in the mid lane as Tarzan squishy. Needs to get out as fast as possible. But that's the reality, Valdez. We saw Rather and Tarzan forced out of the jungle and the mid lane respectively. That means Sword has to path away from top side, showing as much as respect as they can. I feel like we're probably already in item timing when Mundo doesn't give too many Mundos about the AP Malphite. He does have Mercs and Spirit Visage already. I think Sword is kind of the win condition here for Griffin unless we see some really impressive pick play around Vision, and that seems more likely for Jin Air at this point in the game than it does for Griffin.
Yeah. Definitely going to need that Trundle if they want to burst down a Mundo, and so far Griffin has been at least good about stopping any dives up on the top side. And Elise, by the way, really good about taking scuttles. Talia's another one that's also quite good, but I think Elise actually uses even less mana, so quite good as well.
Sword pushes up. Is the resulting Mundo is mid lane. Chain goes wide from Grace. Lehens was there already, so probably not going to be a kill, but always good to see Grace fishing when he has his counter pick, when he feels confident. I feel with his tail up, I think Grace can actually be a really impressive mid laner, but we've seen him get collapsed so many times where he's gone down 0-3, 0-4 in the first 20 that we know he's a streaky player at best.
I didn't know he had a tail. That's also interesting.
It's an expression, Valdez. You know
Yeah,
Craig David, but you're surprised by this expression.
I was just surprised. I was, you know, I didn't know you had that much information on our boy, Grace. But, you know, whatever helps him win. And, yeah, it's all been the focus about winning that mid lane, too. I mean, the two junglers hanging around the mid lane, also Lehens sticking around the mid side. It's just been about keeping that Orianna, waiting until she can get strong later game.
I want to see where So1 goes later game with the build. In solo queue, there was a lot of Gragas players going Morellonomicon and a bit of ability power, 1 or 2 items into tank. There's no guarantee that a Deathcap and a Ludens show up in this build. So interesting to see where that goes. I like where Jin Air are going, returning to mid lane, at least around the top, so they lose a lot of turret health here. Will they be able to finish it off? They will. Nice movement from Jin Air GreenWings and solo gold onto the LeBlanc.
That's a big one. This LeBlanc is going to be scary here in the mid lane. And I mean, the Trundle's just paying off dividends so far. He's been in the right place at the right time. I mentioned Angry Umti. Seems like the Angry Umti is really the key for Jin Air to start winning some games.
Tarzan away from a tank jungle onto this Elise is also a bit of a shift. Sejuani available. Could have been taken into the Trundle. Trundle first pick, an option for Griffin. They look over both. And the Elise, who could still be pivotal, but now has been a bit of a passenger in a Jin Air bus. Jin Air plane is looking very nice. Happy early game for them here for Jin Air GreenWings, and looking for a Rift Herald to increase the pace in the game.
It's going to be a free one. They have control of the vision and the map, and even all that MR on the top side. And Soan is still able to do a big chunk to the Mundo, and with no help, obviously, he can't just face check this Rift Herald. So, gonna give another objective over, and maybe now is the time to go for the gank here. The dive on the sword, the ultimate is gonna be popped. They decide against the dive. They'll be happy with another turret instead.
Don't even need to use the Rift Herald. Mundo has no interrupts, so you can always use it. All Mundo can do is ult and kite back. Griffin giving up a huge gold lead for what you would expect in a series like this. Is 2,500 gold, which is definitely manageable. But it's the side of Jin Air, with two players subbing back in after running their sub roster in game number 1. Jin Air GreenWings, nothing has happened bot side. And Viper hitting his item spikes may or may not be that relevant. It is Jace getting duo lane experience, piecing together as much armor penetration as possible. Probably going to be a Lord Dominic's before too long here. Otherwise, not much to speak about, as we do see a Bone Skewer hit Grace.
It's really all it's for, but you can see what Grace is doing right now to rather. He's up a level. He has the extra item, the Oblivion Orb coming on in. Now they're looking at another Drake here. Should be theirs. I don't think Griffin is going to overextend, especially for an Ocean at this point in the game. So it's more farming to the side of Griffin, trying to wait until that later game. Jin Air just another objective under their belts.
I think Griffin have fallen back to 6-item team fights already, which, again, the Mundo should be able to run, but also the full AP Malphite might just decide if he gets a flash ult from out of range. Big things can happen. Speaking of big things, not a lot of turret damage has been taken, but Rift Herald could be held for the bot lane turret. Goodbye. 3 out of turrets at 20 minutes exactly for Jin Air GreenWings.
Pushing it in, and you talked about effective jungling. Umti doing that this time around. Yep. Not able to stop the second charge too, and Lahen's taking a lot of damage, means maybe another turret as the LeBlanc comes in for the first roam. They are so far ahead right now. Grace with the questionable flash, trying to go for Lahen's. Gets the flash away, but either way, I mean, 4 turrets now to 0. Jin Air, they have such a strong early game so randomly here in game 2.
And we can't forget the context this game is being played in. This title race, his first spot in the regular season race, might be decided by game score. So even dropping a single game to Jin Air is going to be something that could count against them. Of course, if they win all 3 matches by any stat line, they will be first. It's all about if they lose a match, and with SKT looming later in the week, it is a real possibility. But game score is something you can't overlook in the LCK. Your ability to skip best of 5s, always such a pivotal thing. So Griffin will not want to give this one up without a fight.
Tarzan, he's desperate to have some effect on this game outside of trying to stop the bleeding in the mid lane. He has Rather with him, but again, this is a Malphite with flash and ultimate. Instead of just running away, they are actually going to teleport on in, and here's Umti as well. Tarzan is going to be able to dodge it. Perfect mechanics to get him out, but Lahen's says, here, take my life instead. I'll give you the kill. Shockwave is going to miss entirely, and now Tarzan with no repel is on the run, has to flash away. But there it is, the flash in with the pillar, and another kill to Jin Air.
Really nice collapse comes through from Jin Air. So smartly holds on to flash, holds on to ult. Well, looking for his engage and looking for the rest of his team to back him up. Jin Air pick up a lot from that one. They already have those outer turrets. Fishing for any further summoners or further kills. 22 minutes in, you make that play again. Maybe Baron is on the menu soon for Jin Air.
But look at this, they don't even go for the Baron. They go for Rather instead, the exhaust and the stun. They don't have enough damage though, so kind of questionable. Teddy is not able to get there on time, as well as Grace was pushing in the mid lane, so.
Map play was pretty good, but the fact that he didn't have any damage backing them up was the lapse in communication there. So I like the theory that, hey, Rather's probably camping the brush, waiting for the big minion wave to push in, but the execution not having damage let them down a little bit. Gonna watch the replay. You're looking for a group dive on an AP Malphite with everything up. We know he can escape if he really wants to. Unstoppable Force is named aptly. So on ults over the wall, but Tarzan plays as clean as you can at the start. However, after that, Lehens just donates his body for science by running into the enemy team. There was already a command protect used, so there wasn't really going to be a shockwave coming out there. Picture in picture, we're seeing Nova take a bit of damage, but eventually to get the catch onto Tarzan, he does fall despite his smart early evacuation. 2 kills for free for Jin Air.
That's really rough. You know, you can tell they are desperately looking for a kill, a dive, a turret. The idea is if you get the kill onto So1, maybe get a follow-up kill of someone coming in. You can take a turret and try to catch up, but doesn't really play into their win condition, right? We were talking about scaling for them, but
let's talk about
really
So1's 2 items. He has Morella Nomicon Void Staff Sorcerer's Shoes. He has a full penetration Malphite build.
Most damage too, just because he's going up against a Mundo, of course, but like I said, if he catches anyone, they're dead. It's not just the Elise now. Maybe the Mundo survives, just barely. But any follow-up damage onto a Mundo, and he's also probably dead.
That is a Malphite who is ready to get in there. This guy is looking for a 5-man team fight, just like Orianna is fishing for one on the side of Griffin. And look at Ori's items. She's just pranking. She's got no damage. Meanwhile, the Malphite is ready to go.
Umti and his pillars, they've all been on point so far. You were talking about going into a 5-man team fight up against just the Mundo. It doesn't look like the most fun lane, of course, because Mundo doesn't die, but if they can unleash the Malphite onto someone, someone will die. People
be dying. I think if you go for a Mimic Distortion AoE with this 2018 LeBlanc, that's a lot of AoE burst damage. Malphite's doing what, 700-800 at this point? And then throw in the Mimic Distortion, you're having happy times. So they pull this off. It's going to be a real quick team fight. No play-by-play required.
Speaking of which, Tarzan just has to blow his stopwatch for free. Was scared about getting burst 1 comboed by the LeBlanc already. We're only 25 minutes into the game, but LeBlanc as well has some scary items.
And now, whatever happens in the rest of the game, nice blue buff steal by Grace. Jin Air have a win condition. If you get wards around Baron and people face check, they've got burst turn. Their turn off Baron is quick, and it does incredible burst damage. At this present point in the game, there's a very easy way to set up areas that Jin Air just can't be contested by Griffin. Turning onto Sword is still pretty tricky, so I'm not sure this is the way you want to go, and he's going to run away. But Jin Air right now have something Griffin can't answer, which is the turn of Trundle, LeBlanc, and Malphite. If they don't use it and get outscaled by Magic Resist and a 6-item Orianna, that's their own fault, that's their own problem. But at 25 minutes, they do have something that Griffin can't answer, and already for just being Jin Air, the 9th place team, that's a big thing to talk about.
That's good. Doesn't look Jin Air-esque at all. They're doing a very good job here in the early game, quite aggressive, taking all the objectives away, and they get rewarded with an Infernal Drake as well. Next one is going to be a second Cloud Drake. And again, they should have control of the map and should easily be able to pick that one up. So a very fast Malphite, AP Malphite running at you. That's going to be scary when you also got LeBlanc and Ezreal on your side.
What's the next item, though? That's what I want to know. He's got another Blasting Wand. Not really sure where it's going. I guess you could build Leandre's, but it sounds a little bit trashy, so I'm not a big fan of that. Not really sure where he's going to go.
Maybe Banshee?
I guess.
It's
maybe.
pretty good against Elise Orianna, but...
Yeah, and Mundo a little bit. Magic Resist.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's more power now, so I guess that's probably fine, too.
Yeah. It's definitely up there and probably one of 2 or 3 items that he's thinking about. but just more AP right now is pretty good too. Thinking about a Baron start here.
Well, the turn, as we know, is really big. They need to know where So1 is, which angle is coming from. He's got double control ward to play around.
Yeah, look at him. He is the owner of the river.
You guys talk about your river Shens, this river Malphite. Very frightening.
It's a scary one, but Jin Air, they're actually going to play it very carefully too. They're not going to just start it up and maybe Lehens gets in there with a good engage. You know, Tarzan comes in and steals it. No 50-50s for a team that's ahead 5,000 gold.
The Baron damage is actually really low. It's only Ezreal that has true Baron threat on their side, so it's pretty hard to suck Griffin in and actually force them to face check because Griffin also know what we do, which is, man, that's a lot of AP on the Malphite. That's pretty scary. So for now, at least, see if we can diagnose a way for Jin Air, who really want to play around Baron to get maximum value out of their AoE engage. But given the information to Griffin and the fact that they are a very smart team about what the decisions they make in the late game, it'll really be about catch for Jin Air than a 5v4 around the Baron.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to bait. They're trying to start it, show it off to Lehens and say, hey, look, we're doing it. But nothing really coming of it. As Griffin says, if you're not actually going to start it, then we will just continue to scale.
It is going to be Liandry's coming through from So1. I feel like the old Liandry's certainly, but Morellonomicon has the Magic Pan, and the current one, you're not just going to sit in mid lane and Q-poke anymore. I don't think it actually helps you kill the Mundo. I guess you could say it applies the Grievous Wounds for longer with the Morellonomicon on the ticking damage. Is they're going to try and kill Mundo?
That's a nice amount of burst damage. You also got an Ezreal behind you, but it is Mundo after all. They need the Ezreal to hit Qs, but Teddy misses 2 of them, and that means that sword is going to survive.
Doesn't have the Warmogs, but he is going to survive. Like you mentioned, he's teleporting back. What can Griffin get? Because they know the 2 members are bot side for at least a while.
And he needed to hit those. Really unfortunate. Double teleport on both Teddy and So1. They could have considered a big map play after taking the Mundo away, but not going to happen.
A small little reason for Liandry's is that Liandry's damage ticks. That does apply Grievous Wounds for every tick as it comes on magic damage, so possible there. Griffin, pull away. Jin Air, again, playing this Baron game, knowing they have in their heads, this is the place they have to play. They're right, the hand's just dead.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Nice prediction from Grace. That's a very common place to recall. Now it's the 5v4. What did we say? The 5v4, then the Baron start. That's where they're reliable in finding the Baron, but for now, just pushing out the waves of Jin Air.
Literally no counterplay.
Nope.
Not much you can do against that one except
just build health.
Back farther. You can see the ward that spotted him there.
Just build health. Come on. Oh, wait. No, he's not. Oh. Well, yeah. Jin Air on the Baron. They 5v4. This is exactly what they want. The Hens will be late to get there. Baron at 9,000.
You mentioned how slow it is. It is quite slow. We'll see what they can do. Grace taking some huge damage there, but Sword has to be the tank, but it doesn't look like it's enough. Is going to go down the shockwave there, but they do reset the Baron. Again, it is very slow. Grace here on low health as well.
Tarzan can spot it. Yeah, the fact that it fully resets actually a problem for Jin Air because it takes so damn long.
Nova taking a bunch of damage here too. Teddy not had full health either, but look at this River Malphite just trying to be the guard. Not going to be enough though, and that's a real bad feel for Jin Air.
Jin Air lose the Baron because it resets. That's so harsh, but they had free Baron control there. But the fact that it fully reset meant they didn't have enough damage to kill it. They would have run out of mana trying to kill it. Oh, so awkward. We're going to get a pause as well. Baron issue for the side of Jin Air. No, it's on the side of Griffin.
What if it was a Baron issue? What if they said, hey, we were attacking it and it regened health? That sounds like a good 40-minute podcast for you and I, Papa. MT's praying to the League of Legends gods. He's praying to FLICKR.
Excuse me.
This isn't going to happen.
I should have a Baron buff. Where is it?
Yeah, well.
We will give you the update when we get it. T and Grace had a very good game so far in game number 2 after being not played in game number 1. Seems like Nova is the person having the issue.
It's like Baron was doing too much damage to me. This isn't fair. I'm a burly Braum man. I shouldn't be taking damage.
So we're getting the update. It's a Nova client issue. So hopefully that's going to be a short one, given this game is very much doing well for the side of Jin Air. However, we do worry about the scaling potential on the side of Griffin. Gotta say, Griffin did pull the highway heist to pull off the top lane Mundo into Malphite, but the cost and the end result of never even seeing the Jace on the screen doing nothing the entire game doesn't seem to have been worth it.
Hey, he did a big burst damage to the LeBlanc in the river. That's about the only thing he's done this
I don't
game.
even remember that happening. That shows you how big it was.
It pumped the clone from LeBlanc, so she got down to about 40%.
The only thing I trust you on when it comes to size is knowing about Corky's package. You definitely,
I got that
you rate
down,
those
guys.
ones very well.
You know, that's my specialty. I know all about his package. Done a lot of research on that.
My joke also wasn't broadcast friendly, so I couldn't go there. Unfortunate. Well, I'll save that one for off air. As, hopefully going to get back into this game very shortly. In-game issue at 30-50. 6,000 gold lead for Jinair, but so much of it front-loaded benefit because of the AP Malphite. If the ult misses, pretty useless. If it's flashed, pretty useless. In the late game with magic resist, pretty useless, but at this point in the game, very, very powerful.
By the way, current perfect game for Jinair, too. No kills, no turrets, no Drakes.
No Rift
Barons.
Herald.
Yep, no Rift Heralds. So nothing for the side of Griffin just yet. I feel like they have enough burst damage to eventually get one kill, but if Jinair does get too far ahead and the game doesn't go long enough, we could see it happen.
Sounds like Nova's reconnecting, so hopefully it's a quick one and done. We'll be back into the game. There's Teddy, who's been more on the marksman today. Ezreal let him down a little bit on the chase. Difficult to chase down a Mundo.
He's fast.
He certainly is very swift with Merc Treads, ultimate running, and things like that. Mundo was slightly nerfed on this patch for laning phase. His Q gets a little bit less healing when it returns to him, but definitely not going to affect his raid boss status as the game goes on.
Yeah. So we're going to resume the game here just to see what happens. And actually, Jinair is trying to get in there. Big pull onto Nova. Tarzan with the good dodge. He's going to have the Q hit him. We're going to turn around. Nova gets pretty low. He's going to cleanse out of that one. But, oh boy, who's locked in here with who? Jinair actually pushing a little bit too far forward.
Definitely, if you keep chasing as pick champions, you eventually realize that Orianna and also, as a team, Griffin have a lot of power. So this is a really big turn for them because it actually allows Sword to go bot lane, clear the minion wave, those push all the way to their inhibitor turret. We lost a bit of context about how that rotation happened, so on the flank, looking for a flank but couldn't find one. They back away, deep breaths. Remember, the Baron was so close to being claimed. If it stayed leashed, it would have been Baron Jinair. But the fact that the Baron releashed means that Jinair don't pick up an objective that they were set up for 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. Perhaps they had one person to stay on the Baron and not let it leash. We wouldn't have been in this situation because they were able to zone them out effectively.
Let's discuss the build a little bit for Viper. You'll notice Lord Dominic's the third item, you might say, but Malphite's going AP. What's he doing? Remember, Lord Dominic's in the preseason to summer was changed to total armor penetration, not just bonus armor penetration. So it's always better in the game, whether someone's building armor or not. So it is a very valuable pickup, and the armor will come eventually.
Yeah, he basically wants to just get all the penetration done here. We'll see if he can do some effective burst damage.
Who wears it better, full penetration Malphite or full penetration Jace?
Nova doesn't have his flash here. Sword gonna continue on with his ultimate, but Nova is nowhere to go here. Will be just taking down a couple of cleavers to the face, and Nova with nowhere to go, nowhere to hide.
Yeah, teleport smite for a moment, change to flash, but of course the flash not available just yet. Just goes down, so solo mission by the rookie here from Jinair is going to cost Jinair a lot of position on the map. And the first kill and the cancel of the perfect game. Grace looking for this one.
Yeah, trying to leash on in there. They get the flash away from Rather. Definitely a big summoner spell when you're going up against River Malphite. And the LeBlanc, we've seen what kind of damage they can do.
Long map here for Griffin. 5 turrets rolled down to 0 for the side of Griffin. Griffin gets those 5 turrets, the gold lead. Won't be too much to speak about. But for now, they don't have it. The picks this should be allowed to provide the side of Jinair are what we're discussing. But the pick power only means something if the picks happen. And for now, Griffin have been very defensively getting themselves to 3 items on their carries.
sort. He's getting to that obnoxious Mundo level 2. 3 items completed. Sunfire Keep into the Warmogs after the Spirit Visage. Thinking about the Baron here. There's zero vision.
Yeah, all the vision is gone. They check it now. They got this Baron. There's no way to stop them unless LeBlanc steals it.
Okay, can he do it? Nova's gonna come in here and try to get the steal, and she does! Unbelievable! Big steal there. Wow, Grace comes in and gets exactly what Jin Air needed.
Nova had the smite as well. Might have been smite and LeBlanc damage at the same time. It goes the way of the LeBlanc. That was Griffin's way back into the game. Now that window snap close.
Shut it right down on their fingers. They could feel the Baron in their grasp, but now Jin Air with their lead. It's 8,000 gold and so many threats. They can easily push this one in.
Tarzan's dead. They're pushing up. Can they break the base now as well? Here comes Ezreal.
Ulted down. You can see that sword is going to keep the Malphite at bay, but they can send the LeBlanc now into the side lane, and there's no one person that can deal with her, in fact.
LeBlanc in the side lane. The Mundo can hold off Malphite, and just keeping Malphite away might be good enough. That's why Teddy rolls through, trying to get some turret damage for the Malphite. We've been building up this AP Malphite burst. We're still waiting for it, but they're still winning the game, so you can't really fold it, Valdez.
He'll find his target eventually. You can see just how little damage the Viper's doing to Teddy. Through the Bloodthirster shield, and Teddy just immediately lifesteals it back. So far, that bottom lane, Jace, and the jungle Elise, definitely 2 fingers that I'm going to be pointing at this draft and this composition.
Love to see the replay to understand if it was ever in smite range or if W and the smite from Nova was the reason that Tarzan missed it. He needed to hit the smite after failing to pick up those early ganks.
We got the multi-view going on here. Spo TV was sick of zooming out as far as they were.
Aim seemed like such an obvious 2-0, but Griffin have been well held by Jin Air. Almost a perfect game from them. And now, you find the right ult. Maybe someone just wins in the game.
Definitely feels that way. Orianna not on their side alongside the Malphite, but looking pretty weak against what they got anyway. And I said it before, no one person can really hold off the LeBlanc. Even Rather is just not even daring get near her. So that's going to be 3 inhibitors down, perhaps. They have 2 for now. Grace, though, poking at this 3rd one.
I said that they had the damage to kill anyone with the Jace-Orianna duo of threats. Baron is down, 3 inhibitors down. Jin Air, are they going to try to close it here? The first answer seems to be no.
Yeah. Man, this Elise really does absolutely nothing. Right? I mean, she did not get the early game. That's where her power was going to be. She got the flash on a So-On. But then Umti just gets the gank onto Rather. And Rather with no summoners, they can't make anything happen onto LeBlanc. That's super hard to gank.
So Nova has smite here. I know it's not on the overlay. Has it. Watch as this comes in. Comes in, bursts it, smite, and then gets it with a Q. There you go.
Teamwork.
It was certainly a team effort there. Feel a bit sheepish if you're Tarzan and Griffin. Those inhibitors down for so long. 4 minutes on the top and bottom, 3 minutes on the mid lane. At some point, non-interactive ending might just happen for Jin Air, as Griffin has so far given up everything in their base.
Yeah, doesn't feel like 8.1, where you have Azir and Sivir, and you just sit here under the Nexus turrets. But at least they did keep the Nexus turrets alive. Jin Air, if they're smart with the remains of their Baron buff, will just try to get the lanes to all push in together with double super minion and see if Elise can wave clear.
Griffin just can't kill anyone in a group 5v5 though. They don't have the items and come too late. Jin Air has the gold lead. How they get kills to me is unthinkable. The Elise not going to be helpful. Orianna and Jace going to struggle. Free damage onto Sword.
Yeah, he's not even going to ult here. Doesn't want to burn it just yet. Finally has to at the last moment because they're losing Nexus turrets. The first one is going to go down. Tarzan disappears. That's the LeBlanc with a death cap right now. He's going to one-shot the turret too. Viper flashes away, says, I am done with this game. Get me the hell out of this one. Shockwave is not going to do anything on the backside. Viper is going to die anyway, and we are going to a game number 3.
Jin Air played spoiler last season. They beat Hanwha Life Esports in the final match of their season, and Gate kept Hanwha Life out of playoffs. This could be an even bigger gatekeeping if they beat Griffin today. KT Rolster is set up to move ahead of them in future matches, and that is a crazy thing to think about. KT not looking the most convincing, but winning 2-0. It's not going to be a 2-0 today for Griffin. They won with the Teemo comp in game number 1, but they found AP Malphite and the LeBlanc. Umti comes back in and has a much better jungle performance than we've seen from him in a while, and suddenly Jin could shape the playoff race.
They definitely can. A lot of these teams are going to play spoiler because it's so competitive up at the top, and also just to get into playoffs in general. 3 teams tied for first place with 8 wins, essentially. Desperately trying to get in, and Griffin just one step ahead of KT, as you mentioned. All the KT fans out there, you're cheering for Jin to get the 2-1 tonight because that opens the door for your team.
I don't know if it would have changed things, but I would have preferred to see the bot lane Orianna farm it out and the Jace potentially go really aggressive against the LeBlanc and winning trades. We didn't see that in this game, and the end result, it wasn't the most impressive.
Well, guys, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, game number 3.